Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another Final Fantasy XIV video. This time I've got a little guide to some external resources that I think might be helpful to beginners and newer players who are still settling into their Eorzean journeys. Please note that this is not intended to be a comprehensive guide to progression, or character advancement, or dungeon mechanics, or anything like that. There are already a ton of excellent resources and videos out there for stuff like that. Instead, this is more of a little collection of tools that I've personally bookmarked because I found it useful to have them at my fingertips as I was beginning to explore everything that the game has to offer beyond just fighting. So that does mean that we'll be getting into a whole bunch of different game modes, a big variety of content that the game has to offer. So on that note, I'll be doing my best to timestamp everything, and of course I'll include all the links to everything in the video description. Probably the most obvious place to start is the absolutely huge and comprehensive Wiki. I go to this site multiple times per day. Whether it's a helpful summary of relic weapon quests, or dungeon loot pools, or where to trade in a weird currency that you've never seen before, this wiki makes it easy to find whatever you're looking for. Alright, besides the wiki, the tool I use the most is an overall collection site called LOL Achievements. Now, this game is way too big and has way too much going on for me to reasonably try to be a completionist. I am normally a trophy hunter, but it takes like a decade to complete all the achievements in this game. Still, there are a lot of fun little collections to keep track of. Some people I know are big into minions. Others literally only play the game to go fishing. This site lets you keep track of all that stuff. I love Triple Triad, so I first started using this site so I could mark off all the cards that I had and all the NPCs that I've beaten so I wouldn't have to backtrack for achievements later on. You can bind it to your actual account via the lodestone, which will allow it to automatically update a bunch of this stuff like the titles, the achievements, the mounts, and the minions. Some stuff you still have to keep track of manually, but it's definitely better than a spreadsheet. Most collection pages also show how to get each thing you're missing if you want to focus your efforts. For example, here are all the mounts that come from PvP, here are all the minions that I can still get from crafting, and so on. There are some pretty decent organizational tools built right into the game, but they can be a little bit tucked away and clunky, especially if you're trying to do stuff in the game at the same time. So for example, you can go into your timers, next mission allowance to see the list of today's requests, search for item by crafting method, and then raw materials list to see everything you need to hunt down for that craft. You can then search for an individual item by gathering method to see where to get it, but if you want to craft a bunch of stuff and don't want to keep a big shopping list, you can use Final Fantasy XIV crafting as a service. Basically, search for each item you're planning to craft and add it to your list, then go to Crafting List to see everything you've chosen, adjust amounts as needed, and click Craft these items. This brings up a full list of ingredients, shows you where to gather them, and lets you mark them off as you collect them. This is very handy, especially if you're trying to do big batches like a full new gear set, the whole day's deliveries, or a bunch of leaves. This lets you collect everything in one go, so you can do all your crafting uninterrupted. Another site that's helpful for crafting is Final Fantasy XIV Clock. The main purpose of this site is for stuff like legendary nodes, which only appear at certain times of day. Search for the item you need and mark the little alert bell. You can click Alert View to see a running countdown for each item you've selected. You can also customize an alarm to let you know when the material pops. For stuff that you may want to track long-term, like the special topsoils for gardening, there's actually a pretty decent in-game alarm feature. I've set up a macro to turn all my alarms on, and a macro to clear them all. I also put the basic alarm menu on my utility hotbar so I don't have to go hunting for it every time I want to look at my alarms. One nice thing about the alarm menu is it'll show you when each alarm is going to go off in local time. This one is actually popping soon, so I'll just wait here for a second to show you what that looks like. Alright, let's go digging. The last crafting resource I want to show you is a little more advanced, but it's definitely worth adding to your bookmarks for when you need it. Final Fantasy XIV Teamcraft has a powerful crafting simulator. You pick the item you want to craft, enter your stats and add any consumables or special bonuses you have active. Then you can put together a test rotation. You can go back steps if something doesn't work, which is already better than the in-game trial synthesis. Plus, when you find a rotation that works, you can actually generate a macro that you can copy or type into your game, which is great for bulk crafts. Okay, let's move on to the Golden Saucer. The first cute little tool here is the Mini Cactpot Solver. This is hardly necessary since you can pretty much intuitively figure out if there's going to be a lucrative 1, 2, 3 line anywhere on the board, but it can help you get used to what you're looking for, or just be a crutch if you want to have the best chance of a big payout without thinking. Definitely buy 3 Mini Cactpot tickets each day. It's a good source of easy MGP and it definitely adds up. Next is Fashion Report. Community member Kyoko Star posts a great infographic on Twitter and Reddit every week with instructions on how to get a full 100 points for the title, or a cheap budget 80 point set for an easy 60,000 weekly MGP. Again, totally worth it. In the basement of the saucer, we have a Chocobo Racing, and there's a great Chocobo Racing blog with all kinds of information on training and breeding. I haven't personally gotten too deep into racing yet myself, but this blog is organized in a nice step-by-step way that can at least serve as a jumping-off point to give you ideas for more in-depth research afterwards. Alright, next up is the Hunt. Hunting elite marks is a great way to stock up on some valuable resources, not to mention make progress on some really long-term achievements. Faloop is a great site that tracks which marks and special fates are currently capable of spawning. They do tend to get killed almost immediately though, so the real trick is to join a Discord server. The hunting community is huge and friendly and has all this stuff down to a science. So once you join a Discord, they'll be able to help guide you to more available resources. Then you can get pings or an invite to a hunt-specific link shell for instant in-game notifications whenever a rare mark spawns. I'm on Genova, so the server I joined is Ether Hunts. The community itself is really the resource here. That's a running theme in Final Fantasy XIV, I've found. I'll briefly talk about housing here. I know housing is not exactly a beginner-friendly piece of content, but if you do somehow find yourself in possession of a house, or if you join a free company that has a house, these are a couple of useful little tools. There's a Final Fantasy XIV gardening site that helps you plan your garden to get rare plants, seeds, and chocobo food. There's also a cute little chocobo color calculator that shows which treats you need to feed your buddy to change the color of their plumage. So let's say you pick your starting color here, and then you pick a nice color that you'd like your chocobo to end up as. Nice dark royal blue looks nice. And then it'll show all the treats that you need to feed to go from your starting color to your finishing color. And you can also go through and mark them off in order as you feed them to make sure you don't lose track. Okay, now for some final random stuff. When you reach a certain point in your grand company, you'll be put in charge of a squadron. This is an esoteric little mechanic nowadays, but if you want to get a couple achievements and a couple of excellent emotes, it's a fun little idle activity to check each day. Final Fantasy XIV Squadron is a little tool that allows you to enter your current squad's details. Once you have them all entered in, you just have to click a couple of buttons to keep them updated after running missions. The value of this tool is you can enter mission details, and it'll spit out which squad members you should use and any training sessions you need to hit the requirements. Once you're high enough level, you don't really need to use this anymore, but it'll help get you started. The Teamcraft site I mentioned earlier also has a treasure finder. This is great for when you start gathering treasure maps and want to easily locate some buried loot. After deciphering your map, just pick which zone the treasure is located in, then pick which map type you have, and it'll display all the possible locations with helpful coordinates. You can click on your exact map, and it'll bring up a view of the full zone with an X marking where your loot is buried. Go get rich. Alright my friends, that's going to be it for me. I'm sure there are way more valuable resources than the ones I mentioned here. These just happen to be the ones that I've bookmarked to help me as I was going through and getting into different game modes. So if you know of any others that I didn't mention, definitely put them in the comments. It'll help me find some new things, and it'll also help any other viewers and readers who might be looking for something specific. One of the things about this game is that it is constantly surprising me with just how vast it is. There are whole communities dedicated to raiding, crafting, interior decorating of houses, fishing, fashion, and all that stuff. So there's sure to be a comprehensive guide to any of these features of the game, things that I haven't even thought of yet. It's one of the things I love about this game, to be honest, and it's no wonder it's kept people hooked for 10 years already. I definitely look forward to getting stuck into more content that I've never even seen before, so stay tuned for some more videos from me on this game, as well as some live streams as I continue to progress through the main story quests. Currently still on Shadowbringers, which I'm really loving so far. I know Dawn Trail is coming imminently, so I have a lot of catching up to do, but I'm taking my time. I'm gonna enjoy Shadowbringers, I'm gonna enjoy Endwalker when I get there, and Dawn Trail's still gonna be there for me by the time I catch up. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and for supporting this channel and the community at large. I will catch you in the next one.